Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Drowning and Digibrony cast, or Digibrocast.
Horse cast, starring me and this jerk off. We're just two old regular jerk offs, and I haven't played guitar in over a year. I don't remember how to do it, I'm just playing by ear. And by the way, I said, by the way, I'm gay.
Oh, well. Startling revelation right at the start of this this podcast. We're here to talk about video games. To follow up what we did, what was it, a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, almost.
Yeah, sometime
we did a video game podcast, and we were like, oh, we got to do a second one, and we're gonna play an obscure game. Each of us had to play one obscure game at least. I ended up playing several obscure games, but and then talk about it on the show. And I also have a surprise topic to discuss with you. But first, did you play obscure games this week?
Yeah, I played Overblood, and that was an experience. And also someone...
You were like, I can't play Overblood. It's got to be anything other than that. Did you play 5 hours of it, like the agreement?
It felt like 5 hours. It was probably more like 10 minutes.
Alright, I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so, Overblood is a game that came out in, like, the late 90s on PlayStation 1, maybe the mid to late 90s on PlayStation 1, sort of in between the Metal Gear Solids and the Final Fantasies. Just some random, like, Resident Evil in space kind of rip-off game. That nobody paid attention to. Nobody remembers it exists except for me. Nobody probably owns it. Probably every copy except for mine is most likely in a dump somewhere right next to E.T., but I own a copy. And, it's horrible. It's about the most half-melted Lego blocks graphics you could imagine, but it's not just graphics that make a shit. You have to go for the whole perfect storm of shit. The voice acting is about what you'd expect from a Resident Evil type game, but you know, not every game on the PS1 had to have terrible voice acting. Metal Gear Solid 1, so there are other examples of games with good voice acting on the PlayStation 1, but this stuff is just atrocious. You wake up, you're in, this is the great, the game starts, there's about a 10-minute intro that you can't skip, and as soon as the game starts, it drops you off into this room. You're like waking up from cryostasis, and you guys like, oh, I'm cold. I gotta solve this puzzle, and you gotta go around the room and figure out how to turn the heat back on in a little set timer, or else you get cold and you die.
Right.
And the first fucking couple times you do it, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, so of course you're gonna get cold and die. And every time you do, you have to play that same intro again for 10 fucking minutes.
Oh God.
And you can't fucking skip it. And so you're going around, and the controls are god-awful, and it's like Resident Evil 1 controls where you're like a tank, but even Resident Evil 1 had, like, hit detection, where, like, it knows where the walls are in relation to you. This game, it seems like it wasn't even tested. You're, like, 3 feet from a wall, but your guy stops, and you can't just, like, turn. You have to back up and slowly pivot 180 degrees in order to just get yourself hooked off a fucking wall. So you can't control, you're running around this room getting stuck on every corner as this timer's slowly going down, and you're just dreading it because you know as soon as it hits 0, you're going to have to watch that goddamn intro again. So you're running around this room trying to figure out how to turn the heat on. There's all these things. Everything that you inspect or look at, there's about like a 10-second black screen of loading while you have to look at it. And here's the thing that blows my fucking mind the most. When you're looking at stuff and inspecting it, it takes a while for it to register that you want to stop inspecting it, and it's loading and everything, but while it's doing that, while it's loading, the fucking bar is still going down, so you're still losing time.
Fuck.
And it's got this crouch button, and you can't just like click X to pick something up. You have to crouch in order to pick stuff up first, and there's like stuff where you have to crouch to inspect stuff that you wouldn't see otherwise. But anyways, that took me like 60 years of being in that fucking room, starting over and over again. Eventually, you get out, you're in a hallway, you pick up a jacket, you meet this little robot buddy, and there's this little mechanic where you can sort of like switch between the guy and the robot. It's sort of cool, I guess. But I didn't even get far enough to actually see like an enemy that I had to fight, because I picked up a knife and I solved some puzzles and I fucked around for what seemed like my entire life. And eventually I get to this room and there's like this thing floating and it's like a puzzle. What the fuck? Who's sending me some shit over Skype? Some fucking guy. Oh, it's a girl. Okay, well. Maybe it's a naked picture. I'll check it out later. But there's this thing floating in the center of the room, and the guy's like, how is that thing floating? And it's like, there's an anti-gravity device here where you turn off the anti-gravity. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously I'm supposed to get whatever's floating there. So you turn off the anti-gravity, and the fucking thing falls on my guy and kills him, and it's game over. And this is a fucking hour into the game now, so I have to start over again from the intro screen. And that's it. I was done. Overblood gets a 10 out of 10. It's a classic, and everyone should play it.
Incidentally, for more information on it, because I was just doing research while you were talking, there was a series of, I guess there's a series that a Game Informer does called Super Replay, where they like play through games and commentate on them. So they did that for Overblood. And did you know that there is an Overblood 2?
Oh God, of course there is.
I know about that one because of what's his fucking name? Gaming Brit is a channel. He does reviews. They're pretty alright, and he did Overblood 2 just as like a. Some of his reviews are just like, I played through 5 hours of it, and then, you know, like that, like just talking about what he experienced and then gives up. But Overblood 2 has much better graphics, but it's still fucking like, what the hell is this bullshit, you know? But yeah, those came out in 96 and 98 respectively. Jesus. Total shit games.
Yeah, and the fucking the cover is like so cool looking. It has a cool looking cover. It's like a green guy. And that's cool to me, apparently. I mean, nowadays that would be like
it's a guy and he's green. Like, come on.
Like, some leftover like perfect dark bot from.
Right.
I don't know. I remember being a kid and like seeing it in magazines and like seeing the ads, because when you're a kid and you're 5 years old, an ad in a magazine is just as good to you as a review in a magazine. You don't fucking know anything. You're an idiot. So I'm like, oh, this game, you're in space or something. Okay, Mom, I want it. So I've had that game, and it wasn't good then, but it is good now.
Oh, yeah. Shit. What was I going to say? Something about. Oh. So, my obscure game, my first one was Baroque for the Wii. And Baroque is a cool game. Like, I definitely, if you can buy it for like $10, I highly recommend it. But if you're trying to pay full price for it, you're never gonna finish this game. Anyone who buys Baroque, unless you're like a hard fucking core dungeon crawler like fan who really enjoys like roguelike games, you're not gonna fucking beat Baroque, because you're gonna get sick of it. Because the way the game plays is that it's well, first of all, let me tell you how it starts off. Like, you turn on the game, and it starts with this cutscene, and it's like these two guys talking in front of like a giant tank, like, you know, like a growth tank kind of thing, like a sci-fi-esque thing, and they're like, oh, is his whatever stable yet? And oh, well, the EQG readouts or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're just in the game, and you are a character, and you're just in this place that looks completely like nonsensical. It's like a maze, and it's all like dark and brown, and you're like, where the fuck am I? And you're running through these corridors, and you're just running into all these weird ass characters, and they're just saying like complete non sequitur dialogue, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? And then you meet this angel dude, and he's like, you have a mission. You must take this giant fucking gun and go to the bottom of this tower and kill God. And you're like, okay. So nothing makes any sense. You're immediately lost, and it's just like, fucking deal with it. But what you realize eventually is that you're in the hub town, and like the game literally consists of this one little area that's like a small maze where there's a bunch of weirdo characters, and then there's the tower, and that's where the gameplay is, and that's it. That's the whole game, is those two places. So the tower is a randomly generated dungeon where like basically each floor has a somewhat unique look to it, but most of it you're just running through pretty much identical like brown and gray industrial-ish dungeons, and like you run around and you kill shit. Like it's got a fairly complex battle system that keeps it interesting, but it's not like a game where you're worried about like dodging and, you know, and shit like that. Like, it is a free roam, like a free controlling game, but you basically run up to enemies and hit them with shit. And it's mostly about item management, because you only can hold like 40 items, and you have to constantly be using the ones you get, and like luck, because you gotta get decent items if you want to survive. And everything's randomly generated. You try to like basically, the way the game works is that on each floor of the dungeon, you're going to want to explore it, and like if you run around more, you'll find more items and you'll find more enemies to kill to get more experience. But every single second, you have a vitality meter that's ticking down, and when it hits 0, you start losing health. And so basically, you're constantly trying to balance your vitality and your exploration so that you don't die. It's interesting. It's very complex. You're always on your toes. You never have a moment of just like rest. You're always trying to like get something that you need to keep yourself from dying. And I think it's a great system, but the problem is that every time you die, you start over, like the whole game practically. Or at least you start over from the last like level. So the first time you play, you've got to fight your way down like 8 floors and kill God, and then it restarts you back at level 1, and you're going to have to make your way through the tower all over again, but now you have to go down 16 floors. And so you literally play through like the same shit you just did. I mean, it's randomly generated, but every time you die, you go back to level 1, you have to start the tower all over again. And if you're playing on normal difficulty, it's fucking hard. So you're going to die, you're going to have to play through the tower again and again. And like, the first time I played, I was on normal mode, and each time I died, I kept unlocking new stages in this training dungeon. And when you do the training dungeon first, you get like items that you can take with you into the real dungeon. But then once I ran out of new training dungeon levels, it was just like impossible. I could not get anywhere in the fucking dungeon. So I kicked it down to easy mode, and I started over the game, and I played through the 16 level dungeon, and I got to the end of it, and I was like, cool. It was like 3.5 hours just to beat this one 16 floor dungeon, and then it's like, well, now you're gonna have to do it all again, but now you have to go down 35 floors, and I was like, this game's fine and all, but do not have the energy to go down a 35 floor dungeon. Like, I'm not interested. So yeah, I think it's a great game. It's interesting and fun, and it's got weird-ass dialogue, and
yeah, it's definitely one that I've seen on the shelves and thought about buying, because I have this, like, whenever I go into a game store, I have this, like, residual leftover weeabooism, like, still coursing through my veins from when I was a teenager.
I know exactly what you mean, where every anime game you almost buy it.
Yeah, because it's like, I watch, like, I mean, most anime, like most everything, is pretty mediocre and falls into the same conventions, and it's all the same drivel. And when you grow up and you get out of high school and you realize that you're sort of like, I'm sort of fucking sick of anime. But like, still to this day, any game where like the box art is like some beautiful, colorful, hand-drawn anime-looking shit, it doesn't matter if it's Nippon Ichi or Atlas or whoever.
It's always Nippon
Yeah,
Ichi.
only two. But I see that shit. And like, I don't know why I want it, but I'm just like, yeah.
I feel exactly the same. Every single time I've gone to GameStop for the past, like, 10 years, it's always been that way. Where, like, because I used to buy, like, all the Nippon Ichi games back when there was only, like, 6 of them. I owned all of them. I would check out any anime-looking game. I'd be like, oh, cool. But then I realized over time that most of those games are just boring as shit. Because it'll be like the Atelier games, where it's just like you run around and like fucking fuse shit together. I mean, the Atelier games have a big audience, I guess, but I don't care about them. Or like Shining Force or something. But I'd always look at it just because, oh, it's got anime characters. I wonder if this one's interesting. And then you look at the back and it's like some really shitty tactics game. And you're like, yeah, I don't think I need this.
Yeah,
but
I definitely like
curiosity.
I mean, I guess you wouldn't expect it from me, because I always talk about like, oh man, I love fucking games with stories and characters and artsy fartsy. It's gotta engage me on an emotional level. But like, on the other hand, I have like a real affinity for just these basic, simple, just go down a dungeon forever and kill shit and level up, because it's almost like the base of what games are. It's just like pure progression and like nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the appeal of Baroque. It's like it's really stripped down of any idea of like what like it would never possibly be able to be released to like just North American gamers today, because it's graphically, because it's actually a remake of a Sega Saturn game, like not even a Dreamcast game. It's a Sega Saturn game that was originally in first person, and then they made it in third person and released it on the PS2 and the Wii. And it's like the graphics are are shit. You know, there's no two ways about it. It's kind of stylish, but not really. Like, it's never really interesting to look at. You're just running around these gray and brown corridors, fighting, you know, a minuscule amount of enemies in the same dungeon over and over again. And it's nothing but a test of skill. Like, that's all. Like, there is no... You don't give a fuck about the story because it's nonsense. Like, all the characters' dialogue makes no fucking sense. It's kind of interesting in a sense of what the hell is going on here. I'm kind of curious. But for the most part, you're not really playing to have any emotional impact with the story. You're just like, I am determined to beat this fucking dungeon. That's what I'm going to do. And if you don't have that kind of, like, sheer determination, you're just not going to do it. Or you're going to be like me, and you're going to play down 16 floors, and you're going to go, oh, that was fun, you know.
It's the kind of game where, like, if you have a day off with just nothing, you can sort of say, I'm going to shut the world out, and I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to go down every floor of this dungeon for 8 hours. And it's kind of just like being a kid again with nothing to do but go down a fucking dungeon for 8 hours.
Yeah. I definitely think it appeals to that part. Like I said, I think it's a great game. The only reason I wouldn't recommend paying, like, you know, $30 or $40 for it is just that if you are ready for, like, it's gonna be a game you're gonna just have on your shelf and you're gonna play it for 2 hours every once in a while, you know. Like, so to me, that's like the kind of game that I hope to buy on the cheap at random. You know, like, you go to the store, you're like, oh, Baroque, I heard this was okay. Oh, it's only $15. Sweet, I'll pick it up and play it for an afternoon, you know. But I wouldn't go seeking it out and be like, oh man, I need Baroque in my collection.
It's part of what, I wouldn't say part of what made it popular, but part of what I liked about Persona 3 when it first came out is just, it's just like that in terms of the gameplay. There's no real variety. You're just going up Tartarus forever. And I'm not saying it didn't have a good story. It did. That's why it became popular, and because of the style and the presentation. But the gameplay really harkened back to that kind of just basic dungeon crawling, go down and kill everything, shining in the darkness sort of thing.
Like, Shin Megami Tensei as a series has never lost its original, like, edge, like what it's about. Like, whereas Final Fantasy is
unlike a certain
evolved.
Other gigantic Eastern.
I mean, Final
RPG.
Fantasy, in all fairness, changed constantly even from the beginning. Like, no two games really feel that alike. Whereas Shin Megami Tensei is like, the core games of the series are exactly as they've ever been.
Yeah,
I just the only difference is that
Fantasy,
they're not in first person, but even then, they still make first person Shin Megami Tensei games on the 3DS.
They've retained their soul, whereas Final Fantasy completely sold theirs or lost it, one or the other. You know, I think the last actual good Final Fantasy game that I actually enjoyed was a dungeon crawler. It was Chocobo's Dungeon 2 on the Wii. And it had fucking an asinine story. It made no sense, but I mean, compared to Final Fantasy 13, anything is a good story. So it just had this, like, simple story. You're a Chocobo, you're in this town, everything's frozen in time or some shit. And it's just people, I don't know, people's hearts turn into jiggies or some shit. It's been a long time since I've played it. But you go and you collect these puzzle pieces, and it's just a basic dungeon crawler, except the difference is you're a Chocobo, and all the music is like Final Fantasy music from the different games. And it's just like this big, long nostalgia trip.
So it's, because I'm guessing it's, because they did the same thing with Pokemon. Actually, they do it with a lot of franchises in Japan, where they make, it'll be called Mystery Dungeon, or like Nariki Dungeon is the Japanese way of putting it.
It seems just like those games from what I've seen of them.
Yeah, like I guess it's just a bigger genre in Japan, but what I consider those as roguelikes, which, for those who don't know, there's a game called Rogue that I guess is from like the 80s. I think it was like almost text-based or like almost no graphical overlay whatsoever. But the idea of Rogue was that you were traveling through a dungeon, and if you died, you had to start over, and you were always picking up, like, everything is randomized. Like, the whole idea is that the items are random, the enemy placement is random, the floor layouts are random, so you're always on your toes. Like, there'll be traps and shit like that that'll affect you, and so you just basically have to be crazy prepared at all times and, like, really manage your movement through the dungeon. And that's how Baroque is, although Baroque is somewhat, I guess, easier than most roguelikes, because some of them get really fucking hard. Another one that I have is, what's it called? Izuna, the Legend of the Unemployed Ninja, which I have the second game, and in that game it's like, you go into a dungeon, and every step that you take, everything else in the dungeon takes a step at the same time.
Yeah, that's how Chocobo's Dungeon was.
Right, so, like, every step you take, everything moves. There was one game recently like that was on Steam for like $15 that I almost bought. That was like a full 3D, like, you know, it's funny because it has like the super nice looking graphics, but it's still on that grid-based system. So you'll see like this fucking terrifying spider monster like 5 blocks away, but it's not coming at you. It's just like waiting for you to move, you know? And it's kind of hilarious. The old Dungeons and Dragons games that Capcom made were like that as well. So it's a pretty big genre, but it's funny that it's underground. Like the average gamer probably doesn't know about mystery dungeon games, but there's fuckloads of them out there.
Yeah, and it's weird because they gotta be like really easy and cheap to make.
Right.
But they can be so fun when they're done well.
Yeah, because it's all about mechanical perfection, and there's a lot more of that in Japan in general. Like, there's a lot of games over there that are just like cheaply made, but incredibly hard, and the whole point is just mastering. Like the entire bullet hell genre. Like any bullet hell game is just like probably 5 or 6 levels with 5 or 6 difficulty modes, and it's like you can beat it in an hour, but actually being good enough to beat it takes you fucking weeks, if not years of practice, you know?
Yeah. And it's weird because like it's the same kind of thing where like every shmup is sort of the exact same game, but the differences are just minor, that like you can collect like a million of them and be like, these are all fucking awesome.
Right.
Like they never get old to me.
I mean, I've played every Toho game, and they're all the same thing, but they're all different enough. Like each one has enough of a different gimmick that you really feel like each one's different. You know, everyone has their favorite Toho game because there's enough to set them apart that you can make that kind of distinction. And not even really on like a graphical level. They all kind of look the same. They're, you know, but they have those little differences where some people like the point system in one game, or they like the live system or the bomb system, you know, that changes subtly across each one. So
yeah. One of the best dungeon crawlers that I ever remember playing was actually just like a mini game and sort of like an afterthought in another game. It was Air Gaze for the PS1, which was originally an arcade fighting game, I think. So when they ported it over, they said, well, we got to have like a one-player mode. I don't know, fucking throw a dungeon crawler in there. So they stuck this. and Air Gaze is a game, like the whole selling point of the game was that it's a fighting game, but oh my god, Final Fantasy VII characters are in it. And when you're a kid, it's like, this fucking game's got Sephiroth in it. So, the fighting game itself, a lot of people nowadays will say it's mediocre. I think it's still pretty fun. It's sort of like you move in all 3 dimensions, kind of like Power Stone. And I think the actual fighting game's fun, but the dungeon crawling side game that's like packed in with it is like more fun than the actual game, because it's just like you just put that shit. It's fucking hard. It's like Demon Souls hard. Maybe I was 8 when I played it, so it probably isn't. But
I mean, Demon Souls comes from that sort of lineage. Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure the
Demon Souls is like the natural progression of that genre to like its whatever
apex.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I plan to set this this podcast to video of me playing Baroque. I took like an hour and a half of footage of it, so
righteous.
Like, when you're watching this video, you should be seeing gameplay of Baroque on screen, which I probably should have mentioned earlier. But anyway,
that's a good idea.
We've talked about
look at.
Yeah, we've talked about dungeon crawlers and the games that we played, but there's a more important game that I played in the last week that I thought you'd be interested in talking about. So I went and purchased on Steam the original Tomb Raider.
Righteous, yeah.
And I played through about, I want to say, I played all the way through the first like world. Like I got past, like I got to the cutscene where she goes to the next dungeon kind of thing, like she blasts the elevator and all that shit. So yeah, my impressions of the game so far, because first of all, running this game is fucking hard as shit if you're on Steam, because when you buy it, it runs on DOSBox. So awesome. It's running a fucking like DOS simulator of Tomb Raider. And I had to like install some kind of fucking like DOS fix to make it like work with my controller and shit. So I went through all this trouble to actually get the game to run, and it ran all right. Like I don't think I had too many problems with it, but it would crash sometimes when I was trying to do shit. But eventually I got it working, and you know, I think that game is really well made, but it's well made in a way that it couldn't be anymore. Like if it came out today, people would bitch about it because the controls are definitely like clunky and hard to play, but the game is built around the fact that the controls are clunky. Like that is literally the point. is that, you know, this is not Mario 64 where you can run around freely and do all this shit, but it doesn't have obstacles that make, like, the controls are not wrong for the obstacles in the game. It'll be something simple, like, can you jump from this ledge to that ledge? And it's hard, because the controls are fucking hard, but that's how simple the challenge is. It's meant to be, can you master these clunky-ass tank controls, you know? And I thought that was interesting, because I don't think it's really accurate to say that the game has bad controls. The controls are exactly what they should be. It's just that if you're used to, like, free running, you know, then it's going to be clunky and unwieldy, and
yeah, and that's
like,
sort of
fuck?
When they remade the game in like 2008 or something, when they did like Tomb Raider Anniversary and Tomb Raider Legend, like Anniversary was just like exactly the same levels as the original game. It was just a remake. Just the controls were modernized, and you could move with the joysticks wherever you wanted, and it all flowed and worked really well. And they just kind of updated it, and made it better, and it worked really great. And I think if you just did that game, did like a Tomb Raider game in that style with the smooth controls and just kept it based on exploration as opposed to shooting a bunch of guys, it'd be a great game. And I don't think that every game needs to be fucking Gears of War. It just grinds my gears so much, so to speak. Grinds my oh, fuck me.
I totally understood what you meant, like, when I was playing the game, because of the fact, because, you know, you complained about how they turned it into a shooter game, and I was saying, like, well, when I played Tomb Raider 2013, all I did was explore, so I didn't really think of it as a shooter game. But then when I played Tomb Raider 1, I totally got what you meant, because there's really, like, barely any shooting in the game at all.
There's like two guys that you fight in the whole game, and it's just like
right.
You run.
I mean, you have to shoot a lot of animals, but usually the animals, like, some of them are meant to, I guess they're meant to be like jump scares or something. Like, a lot of them just come out of fucking nowhere and you shoot them down. But a lot of them are meant to be punishments. Like, in the first level, you don't have to fight the bear. Oh, that's right, I took a note for this. The fucking, my T-Rex moment, because I already knew the T-Rex was coming, and I killed that thing so easily. Like, I didn't even hide. I just straight up, I saw the T-Rex coming, and I just sat there and shot at it until it was dead. Like, I, like, moved a little bit to the right and just kept firing until that thing fucking died. But, I think it actually got stuck on something and, like, wasn't coming after me properly. But in any case, my T-Rex moment was, the bear in the very first level, because I'm running around and there's this point where I'd gotten past like the first little challenge of platforms, and then it was just like these two little arches that you had to jump over. It's like super easy to do, and I jump over it, and then I start hearing noises, and I'm like, what the fuck was that, right? So I look behind me and I don't see anything, and I'm like, shit. And I look over and I see the pit, and I'm like, well, maybe if I go down there there'll be some kind of treasure. So I jump down, and all of a sudden, this huge fucking bear just comes, like, around the corner running at me. And I'm like, oh my fucking god! So I'm, like, you know, firing at this bear, running around. It took, like, a huge chunk out of my health, but I killed it. And then I found there was, like, a health pack hidden nearby. And I was like, okay, cool. And then there was, like, a secret door that led to the previous room. And I was like, so basically, that bear and everything, I didn't have to ever fight that. I could have just run through the level, and if I had been successful, that never would have happened. But, like, as a punishment for failure, instead of just killing me, they put this bear here for me to fight. And the game, because of its control scheme, because, like, if this game played like fucking Mario, it would be infuriating. If you fell off a cliff and died, like regularly, and had to restart, it would be just completely piss you off. But instead, almost always, if you fall off a ledge, the punishment is, well, do it again. You know, like, you fall down and you land on the ground. Sometimes you lose a little bit of health if you fell from a high place, but you just run back around and keep doing it. Because the point of the game is exploration, and taking you out of the world to look at a death screen would be really obnoxious and not really fit with the tone of the game, you know? You'd be like, oh, god damn it, I'm trying to make progress and I keep dying, and I mean, I hate that about Mario in general. Like, I don't think the live system works well for a lot of Mario games, because it keeps to the arcade-style death system of you fell in a pit, now you're dead, whereas, like, Mario 64 should have had the kind of live systems that that Tomb Raider had, because it's a game more about free roaming in this, you know, this big world. So, I definitely thought it was, like, the game is well put together, I think. It's kind of, I won't say it's boring, because I thought it was interesting. I thought the puzzles were cool. A lot of it was pretty intuitive. You know, I felt like I was like mastering this game and shit like that. You know, I'd get through a puzzle and I'd be like, wow, I did that. It was hard, and I thought for a second I wasn't going to be able to. You know, there were times where I was like, this particular challenge is pissing me off, and I don't think I'm like, this is the point where I'm going to stop playing. And then I'd get past it and I'd be like, huh, well, I guess it wasn't impossible, you know. So yeah, I think it's cool, and I definitely appreciated that there was no shooting, and I was like, I think I would have... Tomb Raider 2013 would have been a better game if there was no shooting in the game, and it was just exploring the world.
But that's definitely one of the things that I always really... that I like about the original Tomb Raider is how the levels are designed. Because, like... And it's a thing that a lot of games nowadays have sort of lost, because games nowadays, you go down a straight fucking corridor... It's either a straight corridor with a few, like, scripted moments or cutscenes, or they go completely in the opposite direction, where it's just, like, a huge, open, sprawling thing, which is fine, but, like... But it's not as memorable. But
yeah,
the way that the original Tomb Raider did it is, like... Sort of like, you get to the place where there's the T-Rex, and you're in that Lost Valley, and the entire level is sort of, like, off-shot from that area, and, like, based on that gimmick and that set piece. And all the levels are like that. Later, there's a level where there's just a big empty space in the middle, and you're going around the edges. I think it's called St. Francis's Folly. Later, there's a level with a big pyramid, and then there's a level where it's like a big giant sphinx in the middle, and the whole level is sort of based... Anywhere in the level, you can turn and see that sphinx, and it makes the levels more memorable. And it also, from a standpoint of it's 1996 and people aren't used to moving in 3 dimensions, it helps you orient yourself. And that's totally something that not a lot of games do anymore. Just building a small world around one big gimmick or one big set piece and just letting it sink into your memory.
That area, like with the T-Rex, again, is super cool because there's lots of exploration to do there. There's all these little openings, and that area, it literally, you walk in, you fight this big T-Rex, and then you're in this big open area, and it's like, all right, clearly there's something I need to do here. And then you look around, and there's 3 different pieces of something that you need to find, and each of them is hidden in a different little part of the area. So you find it completely just by, you know, exploring, and then getting the things tests your ability to use the controls. You don't just get them. You have to, you know, do the jumps properly, do the climbing right to get these things. And also throughout the entire area, there's a bunch of hidden shit that you can get. Like, I still don't even have the shotgun because they kept having hidden shotguns, and I couldn't master the controls well enough to get them, or I didn't care enough to keep trying. But the game has hefty rewards for people who will explore and who will master the controls. And, you know, those things aren't necessary to beat the game, but they're hugely rewarding if you go through with them. And to compare that to something like Uncharted, because, like I've said before, I really enjoyed the first Uncharted game. I beat it to 100% completion. But in terms of how the game works, you don't need to master the controls of Uncharted to beat it. Like, on the highest difficulty, at most you need to memorize where all the enemies are so that you can kill them all, and, like, you need to be decent at the gunplay. But you can play through that game on autopilot and just beat it, because the controls are super easy to use, and the environments don't challenge your mastery of the controls. It's just like, it's basically a matter of, oh, you noticed something? Well, go over there and you'll find whatever's hidden. You know, like, oh, hey, there's a ledge over there. I climbed to the ledge and I got the secret piece, you know. In Tomb Raider, I would notice a secret ledge, and I'd be like, okay, there's clearly something over there, but then actually getting to that thing would be this huge challenge, you know, where I had to fucking master these complex-ass controls and time my jumping just right to get it. And the reward is something that would actually help with the gameplay. You know, in Tomb Raider, you get, like, a shotgun, like I said, which you can't even get through just playing straight through. In Uncharted, you know, I could find secret shit, but it would all be unnecessary. It would just be some random trinket, you know. And Tomb Raider 2013 does a better job than Uncharted at that, because there are secret caves that are unnecessary that do... Some of the secret caves in Tomb Raider are the most challenging, you know, parts of the game in terms of, like, knowing the mechanics well, and they usually give you a huge experience bonus so that you can buy more items. So again, I think Tomb Raider 2013 is secretly, like, this great sequel to Tomb Raider that's just buried under all this, like, modern trappings that don't matter.
Yeah. I think, with a game like Tomb Raider, or how it's really like a less is more kind of thing, because, like, when you look at it, at the Uncharted series, it's become sort of like overkill, where it's just like to them, like nowadays with game design, more is more, and it's
Man,
not.
fuck Uncharted 3. That game is awful.
Oh my god! Like you play Uncharted 2, and it's like there's all these like crazy awesome set pieces, and like you're hanging off a train, and then you're on a train, and then and you play that game at the time, and you're like, this game is amazing. This is the best game ever. But then when Uncharted 3 came out, they took that so to like the ultimate level of it, where it's just like, oh, okay, I'm in a Michael Bay movie. It just never, it's never gonna stop. It never like slows down.
Yeah, I mean that's when I played Uncharted 2. Like the train sequence is memorable because it's a platforming sequence, but it's the only one in the game. There's I think 2 sequences in the game that are like these big set pieces, and the rest of it is normal. And then I played Uncharted 3, and I was like, all right, we're doing some kind of heist thing. I don't know what it's about, but I guess it's like a set piece. And then we have some firefights, and I'm like, okay. And then we get to this other area, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm like squeezing between these rocks or something because it's like a set piece. Then we get into the house, and it's like, oh, I guess I'm running from the flames in the house because it's a fucking set piece. And I was just like, oh, where's the part where I just play the game?
Yeah. And
where's
think,
the mechanics and everything?
Uncharted 3 seemed like really rushed to me. Like I think the story was really sloppily thrown together and didn't make like there's like this plot point brought up about like Nathan Drake's not his real name. It's mentioned once and then never again. There's like one of the bad guys can like teleport and use magic. Never explained, just kind of dropped at the end. And then you get to the end of it, and there's sort of like an explanation for like whatever, I don't remember, but it's like they tried to ground it in reality, whereas the other ones were just like, oh yeah, it's fucking magic, whatever. But the third one, at the end, it was just, they grounded it in reality, and the final boss is just kind of a fist fight against a regular guy. But like the whole game, I was thinking, okay, well this guy can fucking teleport. What's gonna happen at the end? Is it gonna be some magic shit? Am I gonna be fighting a fucking genie or something? That'd be cool. But at the end, it's just like, oh no, it's just a thing, and I'm just a guy, and I'm gonna punch you now, and then that's it. It's gay. Yeah. It's dumb and gay.
So, to move on from that topic, another game series I played a lot this week was the Kirby games.
Yeah!
You played Kirby a lot?
Oh my God,
take it from your reaction. Of course you have.
I fucking love Kirby. Kirby's my jam.
So, here's my question before I posit my theory. Why do you like Kirby?
Oh my... Kirby is a game that you put in Kirby and you're 8 years old again. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you're... Like, it's just the ultimate of, like, even more so than, like, a Mario. It's just, like, everything's easy, everything's colorful. You know, life's a happy song when there's someone at your side to sing along. It's just fucking, you're just running through field. You just want to run in the field and dance and sing. And all the games are multiplayer. Every Kirby game you can sit on the couch and play with a friend. And it's the kind of game where they're so easy that like you can play with a girl. So any girlfriend that you have, you can just bond over Kirby instantly. Like that's like on Jesse Wood's dating theory. That's like date number 2 is make her play Kirby, and that'll just bond you together instantly. Kirby's the fucking shit.
Like, because I was putting together a theory on it, because Kirby has always been, like, super critically praised. Like, everyone loves it. Everyone who's played it thinks it's one of the best game franchises, you know. Anyone I ask, oh, do you like Kirby? They're like, fuck yeah, I like Kirby, you know. And it got me thinking, these games are super fucking easy, but most of these people who play it, like, would criticize other games for being easy, or would, you know, complain about how, oh, modern games are all these easy, you know, for beginners stuff. And I realized that it's a combination of 2 factors. One, it's that Kirby has no pretension about it whatsoever. Because when you play Gears of War, it looks like it's supposed to be an adult game, but it treats you like you're a fucking child. Kirby treats you like, you know, it's not treating you like a child necessarily, but it's you know, obviously meant for 5-year-olds, and so it, you know, it's easy to play, so you don't really think of that as a problem. But more than that, I think Kirby is the best game at making you feel incredibly fucking powerful. Like, it's the ultimate power game, whereas something like Gears of War, you know, it's easy and you slide through and you're getting all these headshots and it feels good and all, but Kirby, the controls let you do whatever you want. It's like you can jump forever, you can dive kick, you can attack in all directions, you can eat enemies. Like, I mean, you can go through the whole fucking game without ever swallowing any of your enemies and, like, you know, using their powers. You could just eat enemies all day, or eat blocks and shoot them at enemies, or fucking... There's a million ways to kill everything in the game, and it gives you all these powers. Not, like, if you play Kirby 1, Kirby's Adventure on... or, yeah, Kirby's Adventure in Dreamland for the Game Boy, there was no powers. Like, you just inhale people and shoot them at each other, and that was the whole game. And then it wasn't until a year later when they made the NES game that they included this whole power system. So it's not even really necessary, but it's there because it makes you feel more badass. And it's like everything in the game makes you feel badass. And the controls are tight, and they feel good, and you can literally, if you're good enough at the game, you can just run through in a straight line, like never halt, just keep killing everything, running through with this bright, happy music, and everything's adorable, and Kirby's adorable, and you're just like, wow, I am a badass.
It's so, like, just not even giving a shit, like, yeah, it's Kirby, and we're fucking happy, and everything's beautiful. I feel like you could, like, sit down a serial killer and make him play Kirby for 5 minutes, and he'd be cured of, like, his serial killing compulsion.
I was just struck by how powerful you feel playing Kirby.
Yeah. And, like, the game is, like, so, like, genuinely, sincerely, like, Kirby doesn't even he doesn't even have bad guys. Like, it's the same villains in every game, but, like, Kirby just beats them up, and then they're friends. And
right. Like, King Dedede in the NES game, like, which is the one that they remade into Nightmare in Dreamland on the Game Boy Advanced. It's practically the exact same game, just with better graphics. But in that game, like, King Dedede is the bad guy, and then you beat him up, but it turns out he was actually, like, the reason he had taken the thing from the Fountain of Dreams and spread it across the world is because there was, like, a demon that was infecting it, and so he was actually trying to save the world. And then, like, after you fight King Dedede, then he joins your side, and then you fight this, like, crazy fucking nightmare creature, and you banish it away, and Kirby just doesn't give a fuck. Like, he doesn't even care when he wins. He's just, like, stone-faced, I'm Kirby, whatever, let's have fun, I want to eat, you know, like, when do I get to fucking eat?
Yeah, he's like the Forrest Gump of video games.
Shit. And it's hilarious, fucking hilarious, what they do to the album art, game art in the US. You know about this, right? The Angry Kirby syndrome?
No.
If you look at the US box art of Kirby, every single game he's got angry eyes. He always looks like he's mad, or he's, like, in an action scene, and it's not like that in any other country. They just have normal, adorable Kirby on the cover of the box.
Awesome.
But they figured that you can't really sell Kirby to boys in the U.S. without him looking angry, because he'd just look adorable and girly.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to buy a Kirby game not knowing about it when I was 8, because when I was 8, I liked fucking Sting, and, you know, coming down from the reactors like a dark, brooding guy killing everybody.
Right.
But Kirby's a series that I got more into when I was a little bit older, and I went back and played them, and I'm like, these games are perfect.
Yeah. Like, but yeah, it's funny that he's always got angry eyes, and he usually has the sword power up, like, on a lot of the box art in America. Not like that anywhere else. But
and it's so weird how, like,
marketing.
How, like, it's such, like, a perfect formula that, like, I've never met anyone who doesn't like Kirby. Like, you meet people who are like, oh, Mario's kiddie stuff. But those same people will be like, fucking Kirby's my nigga, man.
Right. I mean, it's perfectly made to appeal to everyone. It's like, the fact that it's a video game character at all pretty much makes it appeal to guys, because guys don't give a fuck. If it's a game and you kill shit, then it's great. But it was really, like, everything in the game is clearly meant to make it accessible to girls. Like, everything's based on food, and Kirby's pink and adorable. You know, like, the whole game is, it's like about sweets and girly shit. Like, it looks like the Japanese idea of what girls are into. Like, just going by my own exposure to Japanese girl shows. Like, Kirby looks like a shoujo cartoon, but he, you know, can still appeal to guys just by virtue of being a video game. And it was made to be an like, Kirby 1, the whole theory behind it was, let's make a game to educate new gamers on how to play video games. So, like, it's deliberately the easiest platformer imaginable, but it totally works, and it's, like, a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, and it's, like, it's weird, because, like, if I play like any game and it's too easy, I'll zone out unless it's Kirby. Like, I mean, I like a challenge most of the time. Like, I don't know, it's just like a different thing. Like, I play Dark Souls. If Dark Souls was easy, I wouldn't like it as much. I'd still like it because it's fucking cool. But, you know, I play Dark Souls so I can get my ass kicked and overcome. But then I play Kirby just so I can I'm fucking Kirby, motherfucker.
I think what Kirby has in spades that has, like, every single game has it is, and I'm not a fan of the term game feel, but that's totally what it has. Like, every game except for, like, Epic Yarn, and that's why that game, or, like, the weirder Kirby games are never as popular. Like, the one where you had to draw, like, a path for him to go on, or
I never
Epic
played
Yarn
that
where he's
one.
made
I
of
like
yarn.
Epic Yarn, though.
It just, I mean, it's not a bad game, but it doesn't quite have the same, you know, like, aesthetic and kinesthetic appeal that the other Kirby games did, where it's just like everything feels right and just perfectly planned to be like the maximum level of fun. Like, they fucking sat there with, like, fun scientists, like, concocting this game to be the most fun thing ever.
Yeah, it's definitely like I fucking lost my train of thought. Oh, it's fucking it like if you have the Kirby like the anthology collection on Wii.
Yeah.
The thing that you get, like, an appreciation for is that every Kirby game has, like, its own gimmick, and they're all totally different games. And you get, like everyone has, like, a different favorite Kirby game. Like, the first one's just straight your fucking Kirby, and, like, the third one, you can ride on hamsters and shit and ride on fish. The fourth one is Superstar, which is, like, 7 different games in one. Then you got the Yarn, Kirby's Epic Yarn, and the N64 game is my favorite because you can, like, combine the different powers and, like, come up with all these cool combinations. I wish they'd bring that back in, like, a new one, but it's still cool that it's, like, it's its own thing, and they're all totally unique.
I think Kirby 64 is probably the best one, like, mostly for that system, because it just adds so much replayability, where, like, because they made Return to Dreamland on the Wii, and that game's fantastic, and it plays just like, you know, like the older games, but you kind of just run through it and you beat everything. It's meant to be like a party game. Like, they really made it for, you know, 2 to 4 players, and it's a lot of fun to play with other people, but it's like you just kind of blast through it all in one go. But Kirby 64 is the one game where, like, you really want to take your time and go back and, like, collect all the crystal shards and get all the combos and stuff, and, you know, like, explore the game in more depth. So I definitely think that's probably the strongest Kirby title for that reason. But
yeah, it's definitely more fun than Mortal Kombat Anthology Sub-Zero or Mortal Kombat Mythology. I don't know why I thought of that just now.
that game was awful. I remember it.
That game is so awful that I love it. Like, I still, like, every once in a while I'll put that game in, just like, okay, this time, today's the day that I'm gonna fucking beat Mortal Kombat Mythologies, and I'll play, like, halfway through the first level and be like, this is the worst thing that mankind has ever devised.
Is it worse than the one with than Shaolin Monks?
I never played. Wait, no. I did. I liked Shaolin Monks. It had, I mean, it was kind of, like, thin and not, like, much of a game.
Boring.
Yeah, but the mechanics were sound. At least they functioned.
Yeah.
You play Mortal Kombat Mythologies, and it's just like you have to press a button to turn around and face a guy in a fight.
Oh god.
You can't run without holding the shoulder button. You go to stop running, and he, like, slides on the floor for, like, 10 feet before he stops. And there's all these precise, like, pillars dropping down that you have to, like, stop between, but you can't fucking stop because the floors are all fucking ice. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's how I remember. Like, all I remember of the game is that we could never beat the first level because it was just, like, too fucking hard because it's just not made well.
Yeah.
So, did you play any other games this week other than Overblood?
Not really. I've been pretty much, you know, editing and then occasionally going over to the couch and being on the other laptop and surfing while one thing is rendering or whatever. Fucking, I spend a lot of time on Netflix just with my PS3 on in the background, or I, like, only when I'm, like, ready for bed, because I don't fucking sleep on my bed because it's covered in clothes and has a leaky pipe over it. But I sleep on the couch and I just watch stuff again. I don't really have a lot of time to play games, and certainly any new games that are coming out that have my attention, I rarely have the money to want to spend on them. I do want to check out Lightning Returns, even though I know that it'll be awful, because it's just my curse at this point. I mean, it looks better. I mean, like, The thing with the Final Fantasy
That's the
13
point.
series
That's the point is that it looks better,
Yeah,
so that
like-
they hook you in, and then
well,
you play it, and you fucking have like Stockholm syndrome for it. At
Well,
this point.
like the thing is, like with the Final Fantasy 13 saga, I guess they want to call it, as if it's some epic story that makes sense. It's not, but they like the games are getting better, and they do improve with each one. But it's just like when your foundation is Final Fantasy 13, there's nothing you can really do to fix the root of the problem, which is that you've created a world and a story and characters that makes no sense to anyone and never will, and anything you add to it is just going to make it further and further more ridiculous and retarded. But I do want to fucking play it just because, fuck it, I have to at this point.
You say that, but you don't really. So, another game I played this week, very briefly though. Did you know that there is a Samurai Champloo game for the PS2?
I did. I've never played it, but I did know that it exists.
It's another one that I would say is worth giving a shot, but not for the price that you're ever going to find it at. Because the game's kind of rare, so they sell it for like $30, and I do not think it's worth $30. But what's cool about it is that it's a Suda 5-1 game, and I don't know if you've played any of like Killer 7 or No More Heroes or any
Oh
of
yeah,
those.
man, Suda. I fucking adore Suda's games.
Right, and Suda 5-1 did Samurai Champloo, which the thing is, like, the cutscenes and shit are really dry from what I saw, like, so they don't really have his sort of energy to them, and, you know, his games are never really known for being fun to play. Like, they're usually kind of fun, and this game is kind of fun. Like, it's got cool visuals, and it's got an interesting system where it's like basically, you can only use a couple of combos at a time, but your combos are based on what music you're listening to. So you can go to the store and buy albums, and like you basically like you buy new albums and it gives you new combos that you can use, and then you like pick 2 albums to take with you, like to go and fight and shit. And so you switch your combos by changing the music that you're listening to, and it gives you a different combo system. So it's cool in that regard, and there's also different swords you can buy, so there's like a whole sword system. So basically you can change the way you fight in a lot of small ways, but the problem is that all you do is like run through corridors and fight endless waves of the same dude. Like, it's just straight up, you're running and there's a dude and you kill him. But it, like, as my friend Derek pointed out while we were playing it, he was like, this would work if it was like Dynasty Warriors and there was like a ton of dudes coming at you. But they only ever send like 3 guys, and you could just fucking destroy everything. Like, mind you, I didn't play very far. I only got through like the first level with each character. But like with Jean, I could kill everyone by pressing square 3 times, and no one ever hit me. And I'm running through like corridor after corridor, and they like 3 guys pop out, and I kill them all, and then I keep going, and 3 more guys pop out, and I kill them all, and keep going. And it never just spawns them in front of you; it always spawns them like behind you. So you have to like stop, kill all 3 of them, keep going, stop, kill all 3. And you're just like, oh, I mean, potentially you could just run through and not even bother, but you know, I wanted to try it out. And, of course, I was playing it on an emulator, and it ran like shit. So, if I was playing it for the PS2, if I could just find it on the cheap and put it in, and then just sit there and, like, play all the way through it, it'd be fine. But playing it on an emulator, it sucks just because it runs so badly that you don't want to try it. And then, you know, I don't want to pay for it because it's too expensive. But if there's some magical way I could just get like my hands on a copy of the game, I'd probably play it like most of the way through at least.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked Way of the Samurai. Did you ever play that?
I don't think so.
It's like it's a game where like it's all about choice and like, you know, like you choose the narrative and stuff. But like the way it's set up, like you can beat the game in 10 minutes if you just sort of like run through it. But like you're just like this overpowered samurai who's tougher than everyone. You arrive in town. There's like a clock that goes like on real time, so like things change, and you can go wherever you want. And like anytime you play it, you'll end up in some completely different scenario or adventure.
It sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's probably pretty fucking cheap. Oh, you're saying if I played any other games, and I actually did play a game semi-recently, not recently, but I around Christmas or New Year's, and I just played the new one, the Walking Dead game. That came out last year, or in 2012. I finally
the
played.
narrative one, right?
Yeah, not the terrible first-person shooter. But yeah, it's fucking great. games like that don't get made as much anymore. It's sort of a dead genre, and it was really cool to see it come back in a way that not only is really good, but that became popular and got accolades and sold a lot and got warranted a sequel.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was already planned for a sequel because it's like a episodic game. But I definitely think that adventure games are starting to make a comeback because of that game. And like the Double Fine adventure game finally came out, so I think there might be an uprising of the old genre.
Yeah, because that's good, because I love that genre, and it's like, you know, you get so burnt out on the first-person shooters and the third-person shooters, because it's like it's all there is anymore. And because one of my favorite games on PS2 when I was a kid was Escape from Monkey Island, and that was like the first of that genre that I ever played. And to me, it seemed like so unique and different at the time, and I had no idea that it was a whole genre of games like it. I didn't know it was part of a series. I mean, it sort of clicked into place halfway through, and they keep making references to like the older games, and I'm like, oh my, there's a whole new world out there for me. But that game was amazing, and like, I haven't really played, or there hasn't really been a good adventure-style kind of game since Escape from Monkey Island. I mean, there was a new Monkey Island, but it fucking... whatever the fuck. It was cool, and just last week I downloaded the new one, which is Walking Dead Season 2, where, like, the kid's all a little bit older, and you can play as the kid now, which is such a cool thing, because, like, it does that, like, thing that I mentioned that sort of grinds my gears, how it tries to, like, manipulate the player into having emotions by, like, you gotta take care of a little girl. But it was sort of, I think Walking Dead pulled it off better than The Last of Us. I felt more for Clementine than I ever did for Ellie. So that was cool. But what's really cool is when you play The Walking Dead Season 2, now you're playing as the girl, and she's a couple years older, and it's like this weird sort of like you're instantly invested in this character because you've already seen her as a secondary character for a whole game, and now you get to play as her. It's cool, and it's fun playing as like how many games do you get to play as like a 10-year-old girl,
right?
Fighting zombies.
Like, for me, I guess I've never played the Walking Dead games because I'm not interested in adventure games because they're just sort of antithetical to like the main things I come to games for. But at the same time, I'm trying to. Like, I think I'm going to start branching out before too long. Like, the main reason that I've been sticking, like, really hard to the action RPG genre is that I'm not tired of it yet, and there's still a lot of games to talk about and play. So, you know, I really want to, like, I still want to play through all the Zelda games. I still want to play through Dark Souls and all the shit like that. And then once I'm, like, finally burnt out on that genre, or when I've played all the, like, relevant games, then I'll be like, alright, well, let's go check out adventure games and see if I can get into that as well, you know?
Yeah, fucking games. I don't even fucking games.
I was playing Dark Souls yesterday because I'm ready to finally play through it, but I can't do it now because I'm about to leave tomorrow morning for 2 weeks. But the Dark Souls 3 is coming out on like March 3rd or something. So I mean Dark Souls 2. It might as well be Dark Souls 3. Demon Souls 3, Dark Souls 2. But
I heard somewhere.
In any case,
I heard somewhere. I don't know if it was just a stupid rumor or if it was verified that they secured the rights for Demon Souls 2 as well as Dark Souls 2.
Maybe.
And I was like, what up? Yeah. That'd be fucking cool because I like the story of Demon Souls, and it'd be cool to see it continue. But go on.
Yeah, I was playing it because I want to play through it finally, and I got farther than I've been, but mostly because, like, for me, the thing about Dark Souls is that I really do want to play through it, but at this point, I've watched it so much from all my friends playing it continually for 2 years. I've seen, like, a lot of what the game has to offer, and I've also played through the first, like, up until Kellogg when you ring the 2 bells. Yeah. I've played through that section of the game so many times that I'm fucking sick of it. So, like, basically, I told my brother, I was like, my youngest brother, Shade, who's, like, got an encyclopedic knowledge of the game, and I was like, you're going to sit next to me, and you're going to tell me how to build my character and, like just basically how to get him off to the right start. And we'll go through the first couple, the whole first section of the game that I've already played through, and then I'll, like, take it from there. So I wanted to play as Onion Bro, which is the dude who's got the onion-like armor, because I've just been really obsessed with onions lately. I don't know why, but like
Because onions are cool.
Right, I got really into onions all of a sudden. And I was like, I want to be Onion Bro. So I've been building
onions. You like put it on your dating profile. Like, I'm looking for a girl who shares my love of onions.
That would be awesome, though. Like, to have on a dating profile, as if you actually met a girl who shares your love of onions.
Oh my god, I'm totally into onions.
But in any case, I want to be Onion Bro. So, like, I have him helping me, and I'm bullshitting basically, because I'm not getting the full experience of, oh, it's so fucking hard and I'm doing all this shit. It's like, no, we immediately got this like badass sword, leveled it up 5 times, got over leveled and like creamed through the early areas, and some of the parts where I was like, I don't want to play this part, you do it. So I kind of cheapened the experience for like the first part of the game. But it's like, at this point, I just want to fucking get through it. Like, I'm not even worried about cheapening the first part. I just want to play the rest of the game.
At this point, when there's a sequel right around the corner, there's really no time to be like, oh god, I better do it right.
Well, like, and it's spoiled for me, and I don't really think of that, like, I'm never going to have the same experience that other people did, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily worse. Like, because my friend Donson, who's the one who got us into this whole franchise in the first place, who was like really attached to it, he really values blind playthroughs. Like, what he does, like, not just that he played it blind himself, but every time he would watch someone play, he will purposely misdirect you. Like, he wants you to experience all the hardships of the game, so he'll be like, oh yeah, check out over there, and then like a giant boulder kills you, and he's like, haha, you shouldn't have gone over there, but he wants you to experience how frustrating it can be. And he's watched countless playthroughs of the game. Like, he'll sit on Twitch TV and find someone who's got like a blind playthrough and watch them play, just because it's hilarious to him to watch them die and like get that fresh experience that he can't have anymore, because he can beat the game in an hour. So for him, it's like living vicariously to see the first time again and again from other people's perspective. So he totally has no respect for the idea that I'm just gonna like breeze through the game. But for me, it's like, I'm never gonna have that raw experience. Like, if I sit there and grind away trying to beat like the depths again, and take like an hour to beat the depths, then it's just gonna frustrate me, because I already know what's there. I know all the challenges, I know all the pitfalls. I just want to get fucking through it and play through the stuff that I haven't done. I've never played through Sen's Fortress, so now I'm there and I'm like, whoa, it's suddenly like scary and interesting again, because I've never played this area.
Yeah. Who was it? I don't know if it was a video or an article I read. Like, someone did like this huge analysis just on Sen's Fortress and how like it's the most utterly perfectly designed dungeon or level ever. It was really cool. I don't remember if it was a video or an article.
I'll definitely check it out. Like, I want to watch all of Vadi's videos. The only reason I haven't is because I haven't beaten the game yet. I assume you know who Vadi Vidya is.
I don't.
Oh man, look him up. He's the most famous Dark Souls related like fan person, because Dark Souls has a pretty big fandom of people who actually communicate. And Vadi Video does he does a series called Prepare to Cry, and like basically he just does like these in-depth, it's almost like he's analyzing the storylines of the characters, but he's not doing it like an analysis. It's like a story. So he's telling you like the story of what happened to these characters, and it's always like some incredibly depressing shit, like that this character has this incredibly dark backstory, and and they end up dead in the end, and it's Prepare to Cry once again. And the series is really great, and all Dark Souls fans love it. And then he also does like countless videos on the game. He's bought it like 20 times. Like, every time it goes on sale, he buys another copy, just because he's like, this game is so perfect that he feels the need to keep doing that again and again. He's already played, like, he did videos on, like, the Dark Souls 2 beta to, like, to hype it and shit like that. So, it's a great channel, and I've always wanted to watch the videos there, but I feel like I need to play through the game first and then, do all that. Yeah. But definitely check him out.
I never did play the DLC of Dark Souls. I just never got around to it.
Yeah, I have it because if you got the PC version, it was just there. But it's very cool. I mean, it's well worth the $15 that they charge for it. Like, it's a whole extra 3 bosses and everything.
It's weird because, like, I played Dark Souls and I feel like I know what I know about the game. I know how to fucking play it. I've beaten it a few times and I have, but.
Right.
then you talk to some of these people who are like actively in the Dark Souls fandom, and I don't really like them. I don't like the fandom, like any fandom, because there's a lot of elitism in it. And
Right.
I mean, you talk to anyone who plays Dark Souls like every day, and they sort of expect that you do as well. And it's like,
Yeah.
so, you want to fucking get online right now, and we'll fucking go here, and we'll fucking do this. What did you do in fucking this part? And it's like, whoa, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I just play it once in a while, man.
Yeah. I don't think the Dark Souls fandom is as elitist as it could be. Like, it could be much worse, but like, because a lot of people are really nice and stuff, and my friends are usually pretty, decent about it. They just like I said, my friend Donson just loves the experience of watching newer players play through it, But there's definitely like memes and stuff in the fandom that I don't understand at all. Like, my friends are always referencing this video called "The Legend Never Dies," where it's like this guy has. Like, it starts off with him explaining, like, his build, and, like, this, like, it's like, oh, yeah, 14 decks, because I'm, like, it's like that, and they all watch it, and they just laugh their asses off, and I have no idea what's happening. I'm just like, what does any of this mean? And they had to, like, explain it in depth, why this mattered, and I was like, oh, okay, but
Yeah,
every
and, like,
time they're playing the game, they're like, the legend never dies, and I'm like, I still don't get it.
I play Dark Souls like a fucking caveman, because like no matter what character I'm building, like it always ends up the same basic build. I mean,
Right.
I don't know about fucking magic. I don't use I play Dark Souls like a fucking
Fuck
man.
magic.
I take a sword or a fucking spear and maybe a bow, and I fight people the old-fashioned way. I don't fuck around with some, ooh, I got this fucking new catalyst with they put all my stats into fucking intelligence. Fuck intelligence. All my characters are cavemen.
Right.
Fucking
No one I know plays with magic.
strength,
so.
dexterity, stamina. That's it. You don't need
Right.
anything else.
Like my brother, when I was watching him play, because like I said, I would give him like controller every once in a while, and because he kept bitching because I was like fighting every enemy, because I just, for me, naturally I just run up and kill everything. Every time I die, I go back and I kill them all again, and he kept getting pissed at me. He's like, they don't give you enough souls to be worth killing. Just play through and get through it. And I was like, all right, I'll try. But like, even when I'm like running through, the speed at which I do so is so vastly inferior to him doing it. Like, he'd take the controller and suddenly his character would be naked, like out of nowhere. I don't even, like, he goes through the menus so fast that I can't even like perceive that it's happening. So from my perspective, the character is just naked all of a sudden, and he just starts hauling ass, and I'd see him like do rolling dodges and shit, and I wouldn't know what he was dodging until afterward. Like, he'd do a dodge, and then I'd see the character swing his sword, and I'd be like, are you fucking clairvoyant? Like, how did you notice that the character was swinging at you? But it's because he knows the animations well enough that, like, he sees the first couple frames of them, like, rearing back for a swing, and he's like, oh shit, dodge, like, way fucking ahead of time. And I can't look at images that quickly. Like, I can't perceive that many frames per second. Like, it was scary, and he would just destroy everything like it was a fucking joke, It's terrifying.
Terrifying. Fucking video games.
That's the, oh, wait, am I supposed to talk now?
Yeah. That's the fucking, I got both hands in my pants, scratching my nuts, clipping my toenails, brushing my teeth over here, and you toss the ball in my direction.
Hey man, gotta be on your toes, man. It's a podcast. You never know what could happen.
Or a horse cast, which is even more dumb. I'm trying to think of like other games that I've played recently, and I'm just drawing such a blank because I do nothing.
I can't believe how many games I managed to play just in the span between like these shows. It was just like the motivation that we were gonna do another one. You were like, oh yeah, let's do more, and I was like, because I didn't want to have to talk about the same shit that I always do. Like, every time I do a gaming podcast with anyone, I always end up talking about Dark Souls. I always talk about Zelda. I always talk about like all these, these different aspects of game design, and I was just like, I want to talk about new games that I've never discussed before. So I played through like a bunch of random shit, and then
like I always like I think about playing games more than I do anymore, because it's just like, God, I should go in that room and grab something. Fucking, I put in Final Fantasy VII the other day for like 5 minutes, just because I wanted to get to a certain part of the game and have it on the background of a video that I'm making. Spoilers.
Right.
But, you know, I put it on for 5 minutes and they say, oh yeah, good time. Just like hearing the menu and seeing it and just being back in the world for a while was just fun to me, because it always is. But like, I don't often get a chance to play games at all.
Yeah.
And there was a point to this story, but I forgot it. Oh yeah, the point is because I've been fucking eating my own ass making Pinky Apple Pie review for fucking eons. For a month. The episode premiered exactly a month ago today. Because I've just been... It's the fucking process of making that video. Never am I making a video that long again. Because, like, so much... Like, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like, that part where I was fucking around with the pie and putting it all over my body. That was horrible. And it was even more horrible because I had to do it twice.
Right.
Because I fucking lost I didn't get all the footage I needed the first time. Then the fucking... All those, like, things I do where, like, stuff is animated and stuff is moving on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times with Sony Vegas, it does this thing where, like, you'll render it and it'll, like... It'll get to, like, a certain part of the screen, like, the render, like, the specs will just flip out and it'll start, like, getting bigger and smaller and it'll just, like all
Holy
fucked up.
shit.
And I can't fix it. I don't know how to fucking fix it. It's, like, some next-level shit. It's just so... And usually when I encounter that problem, I'll just fucking say fuck it, and I'll rewrite the script or the joke, and I'll work around it and come up with something different. But in this one, it's for that part where like the is plays and stuff, and it's just like, no, I was not gonna let go of this joke. It was mine, and god damn it, I'm not letting go of it. They're not gonna take it from me with your stupid Sony Vegas not working properly bullshit. So what I ended up having to do, because, like, it looks fine in, like, the video viewer in Sony Vegas. Just once you render it, it fucks up for no reason, and you can't put your finger on why. So what I had to do was I went in the video viewer in Vegas, and I zoomed into every single frame, and I took snapshots, and I animated it manually.
Holy fucking shit. That must have taken fucking forever.
1,004 frames.
Oh my god.
Because I would not let this joke fucking die. It was my baby, and I'm glad I didn't, because it's the best part of the video.
Wait, which joke again was
in my opinion? The part where the second time the eagle comes and it's just
right,
like...
that shit, I lost my shit at that part, dude.
Yeah.
I was fucking, like, crying. I was laughing so hard.
Like, the video... There would have been no reason to make the video if I couldn't have that joke in it.
Yeah, that was pretty great. Because you're just, like... You're, like... Both times, you're, like, bitching about something and then it happens and you're like, oh my god!
Fuck you, Sony Vegas. You're not taking my genius away from me. Even if I have to get down and dirty and get the scrape the shit with my nails. And that's why my shit takes so long, is because I have that fucking stubborn mentality about getting it right and getting it perfect and just not compromising. Like the video, the monetization was rejected, of course, because I don't know why. It didn't give me a reason.
There's tons of full-screen footage in it.
I mean,
so
yeah, like a lot of the times it'll give you like a content ID thing at least, so
like,
you know.
Like it was under review, and then it said, "Oh, you need to provide proof of commercial use rights."
And I did that, and it still says monitoring for the second time, and I know that it won't get cleared this time because it never does clear the second time.
Still don't get, like, it's literally telling you, "Oh, guilty until proven innocent."
Like
that's what that is.
Like the content ID thing is bad enough, but like it really just grinds my gears when it won't even give you like what exactly is the problem. Like not that I would change it if I did know, but still you should fucking, because it's like it doesn't even know if there's anything wrong with it. It's just assuming that I'm a criminal automatically. But it's like, so like I knew when I was making it, because like, yeah, I have a fucking song by Iz playing for quite a while. It'll probably get matched. It probably won't get monetized. But I'm the kind of guy where like I get a vision in my head and I'm not fucking compromising it, and I don't care if I lose out on a bunch of money or however much I get from it. I don't care if I can't monetize it.
Dude,
I'm doing my fucking joke.
for sure, like, that useless anime knowledge video that I posted up last night, like, I was so sure that everything was going to go wrong with this video. Because, like, first of all, who the fuck cares? Like, the whole thought I had, at every stage of making that video is no one can possibly care about this. It's a studio no one's heard of. Most people don't care about animation studios to begin with. I'm just rambling off knowledge about shit. No one's gonna care about this video. And I really thought, like, it was gonna have no views. And then I was like, why am I putting the most effort that I've like ever put into a video goes into that one. Like I put fucking like drop shadows on all the images, which I couldn't figure out how to do a drop shadow in Photoshop, so I just drew shadows under like most of the pictures in the video in Photoshop and then put them in Vegas. You know, I went through all this trouble of finding all this shit. I mean, even writing the post had a ton of research in it, and I was like, why am I putting all this effort into this when like the only way the video worked is if I had music in the background, because like I'm just droning on forever about bullshit. So I put all this Samurai Champloo music in there, and I was like, this video is gonna get fucking blocked. Like, just watch. I'm gonna get like a worldwide block, get a strike on my account.
Like, you never know what's gonna get matched and what's not.
And amazingly, not only did it not get matched, it got monetized. I was like sitting there like in abject shock, like wow, like I was ready to re-edit the video and like have to put in different music and all this other shit, and it went up, no blocks, got monetized, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I would sooner release shit for free than let them compromise my vision. I mean, that sounds like such a snob thing to say, but it's fucking.
I wasn't worried about the monetization. Like, if that had gotten turned off, I would have left it up anyway. But I was worried that it was going to get blocked, you know, and I was going to get a fucking strike for it.
Yeah. Because, like, like, I put, like, days and days of work into, like, the stupidest shit that, like, no one. Because the actual, like, okay, in this part I'm talking, and I'll just, like, put the images or whatever to match what I'm talking. That goes by relatively fast. But, like, I'll, like, get down and dirty and, like, fuck around for days on something that I know nobody will notice. It's just for me. And it's, like, I like to think that, like, my videos reward repeat viewings. Because I do put in, like, a shit ton of little details. Like, I don't know if anyone noticed, but, like, in the few brief glimpses that you can see in, like, my entire OC, like, when it zooms out a little bit, I made my cutie mark, the fucking eagle with the fish in its claws. Or like,
I mean, I've definitely noticed a lot of stuff, and obviously there's, because I was rewatching the Rarity Takes Manhattan review last night, because this dude DJ Calcos, like, after watching the new Give and Take video that me and him did, he was like, oh man, that video is great. Give and Take's like the best like editor out of all the analysis people. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. You haven't seen Jesse Wood's videos, have you? And I linked him the Rarity one, and we both watched it, and he thought it was phenomenal. And I just like, I keep noticing just so many things you did to make that script so dense, where it's like, you know, there's a part where you're like, oh, I'm never gonna look up the fucking name, I don't have time for that shit, and then you're like, hold on, let me look her up, you know, and like later on, Coco Pamel, and you slowly get the names right, and you grow your beard in reverse and everything.
Yeah,
just like all these subtleties.
I'm always thinking about that. Like I don't know. I'm a big fan of, like if you watch the fucking what's his face, the Shaun of the Dead movies. There's so many little things that you'd never notice until like the 8th time you see it. Yeah, and it's like even stuff that like there's fucking no reason whatsoever to put thought into. Like in the scene where I have all the characters like on the beach and stuff, I have like JFK and Vegeta and Asuka, and I specifically knew that when I drop Asuka in there, I want her to be higher than the other characters, because in the show, she's always standing on something whenever she gives a speech or something, and it's like a part of her character in the show that like she needs to be front and center, and it's not even mentioned in the show. It's just like a background thing there. But I knew that I wanted her in the scene higher than everyone else, and I had to like I had to make a PNG of a rock just to put in there so I could put her on it, because there was no other way to get her above everyone. So it's like just the most insane things that I put my attention into. Like when it zooms out of like Pinky's scrapbook for like half a second, there's like 11 stupid little jokes that I shoved in there and had to animate all of them in that one like half-second frame of the scrapbook. And it's stupid, and it makes my videos take months, but I don't care because I'm a maniac.
I mean, but it's also just way more satisfying to put out a video like that, you know, like with Useless Anime Knowledge, like we spent like an hour. I got my brother up here because he's like a film student, and we set up like all these lights and everything just to film shots of my collection, and I only ended up using like 10 seconds of it just for the introduction. Like we filmed tons of footage so that anytime I was like, if there's any dead spells in the video, then I'll just fill it up with footage of my collection. And we just ended up using the 3 things for the opening, but it totally worked. Like it was a great opening segment, and I was like, that was worth the hour filming, you know, because that made the video better. And altogether, just you know, like adding drop shadows is totally unnecessary. Nobody would have noticed it, but I was just like, it looks better. And it needs to happen because it looks better, you know.
Yeah, it's absolutely worth it in terms of like personal satisfaction to
right.
To do
because
stuff
I think
like
I've
that.
told you before, but I'm totally fucking bored with the whole like Digibrony editing.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure everyone
faces.
can tell.
Right, like, well, because and I was talking about this on the pub crawl last night, but the last 3 videos I did, hilariously, every week there was some other video that I was really putting a lot of effort into that I was not done with yet when the new episode came out, and so I just kind of like phoned it in on the episode thing. Because like Three's a Crowd, I had just finished my Wind Waker HD review that I've been working on, and then I was like, I almost didn't do a video on it, but I was like, you know, I've got enough to talk about. I'll just film myself talking about it, because I wanted to move on to the next thing. Like, I was trying to play all these video games and shit that I wanted to do, and then for the next week after that with Pinky's Pride, I was still working on my alpaca video, the Frozen review. So I wanted to get back to work on that, and so I just kind of like churned out this Pinky Pride review really quickly. I got smashed and did it in 2 hours, you know. And then this weekend, I really wanted to work on Useless Anime Knowledge, but, you know, so I just was like, fuck it, I'll give it to Give and Take, and he can do all the editing, you know. It's like there's other projects that are like really interesting and worthwhile and make me feel like I'm doing something, you know, like I'm actually doing a job, you know, like, wow, I'm really working. This is actually something that I should be getting paid for, you know, as opposed to just throwing Digibrony faces on a video and calling it a day.
Yeah, fucking OC faces.
Because the moment I got sick of that was when I did Rarity Takes Manhattan, because of the fact that, like, I went into that video and I had this great script and I wasn't really working on anything else, and I wanted to make it like a great video. But then once I started editing it and I started putting in the Digibrony slides, I realized that there was nothing I could show on screen that was more relevant than just footage from the show. Like, there was no reason to go out and find other stuff to do. Like unless I was going to try to do jokes, but I don't really do jokes in my videos because I'm not funny and they come off stupid, unless it's like those little one-off jokes that happen like once per video. But like, there was nothing to put on screen that was better. So I just had like full clips that were like 2 minutes long on screen at parts while I'm talking, and I was like, this is the most boring video ever, but it works. Like, to watch it, it's fine. You're just like, oh, whatever, I'm seeing clips from the show. But to edit that, it was like, I put zero effort
pretty
into
much
this,
in pretty much in all my videos, there's a point where you can tell that I got sick of listening to myself talk. And
right.
There's always that point like halfway through where the editing just goes fucking crazy, and I start like shoving in like rocking horses and like skeleton GIFs everywhere.
Definitely. Like, and I love that, but your videos also are about like this manic insanity, you know. If I inserted a bunch of random shit into my videos, people would be like, why? Or it'd be distracting, because I also talk super fast. Like, that's the other thing. I kind of have to keep my editing somewhat bare bones just so that you can actually comprehend everything that's happening, because I don't even have breathing in my videos. It's constant stream of talking. And, you know, so you have to be able to concentrate on what I'm saying. So, like, if I put text on screen, it's always too distracting. Like, you end up reading the text and you lose track of what I'm saying, and it's like, it's a clusterfuck. So I try to keep the text to a minimum. I try to keep, like, you know, the editing simple. But at the same time, I want it to look nice. You know, like, the Useless Anime Knowledge video, there's nothing, like, extreme that's on the screen, but there's always a lot of relevant things happening. You know, I'll show a picture of the director and like 8 shows that he's worked on, and you can look at all of it without having to read anything, and it doesn't distract you. But, you know, there's still more than just clips from a show on the screen, you know. Because with Useless Anime Knowledge, I can't use footage, because anime footage will get me fucking blocked immediately. So it's like, I really do have to find editing techniques to work around it.
Yeah, I still don't know what I'm going to do about my next review, because spoilers for anyone who doesn't know, my next review is going to be a certain Disney movie, and I don't know how, because I know it'll get detected, because it's not even out yet on DVD.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to like do MS Paint drawings of like the whole movie.
Just do what I did. Do fucking alpacas and still images. Like, there's no footage in my Frozen review. It's oh shit, I spoiled it. Anyway, there's no footage. It's all just still pictures that I found on Google, you know, and the movement is all alpacas. So if you just talk in front of the camera and then put images on screen, it'll be fine, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like, I have it all filmed. It's just a matter, and I have it written. It's just a matter of giving myself the, resigning myself to go back into Sony Vegas and start a new fucking editing session.
Right.
It takes me a couple days of just, like, meditating on a mountain and psyching myself up for it.
Well, we've managed to get 20 minutes off of the topic of video games, so...
Oh, yeah,
what happened?
video games.
Video games were the point of this podcast, I think.
Well, fuck it.
We always end up talking about editing. Clearly, we just like, I guess it's because we're both the only video maker that the other person really talks to a lot.
Yeah,
so.
Pretty much. Do you know what I still have in my room? Right next to me?
What?
It's the 2-liter of my pee.
Oh, God. Why? Been there for 2 weeks now. You fucking sick fuck.
I just haven't had... I can't tackle this mountain of garbage. It's too much. It's too daunting. It's like a dragon in the corner of my room.
When me and Calcos were watching Rarity Takes Manhattan, he said, "Wow, he really messed up his room for this." And I said, "I don't think he did." I was like, "I'm pretty sure that's just naturally what his room looks like."
Yeah, it is. There's still pie on my floor from.
Oh God!
And that was filmed 3.5 weeks ago.
Nasty bitch, man.
It's horrible. But I can't. I don't know. Just fuck it.
Well,
you gotta live the gimmick.
Right. The next game I think I'm gonna play, because I'm about to leave for 2 weeks, and when I get back, I want to beat Dark Souls, but the game I'm gonna start playing is Final Fantasy 14, because my girlfriend's playing it and she's trying to get like her friends into it. So I was like, cool, I'll play that because it's a fun little, good-looking MMO game. My friend and my brother played it, and they said, because my brother Victor said, like, you know, he started playing it, and he thought it would be cool because it looks nice, but he said it's just really boring because it's basically you're doing the same shit over and over again. And then he said, quote, "It's the Animal Crossing of MMORPGs." Like, it's just a game about, like, everyday life, basically.
I wish Animal Crossing was an MMO.
Right. So, I don't know. It sounds like it could be interesting, and, you know, if I'm playing it with my girlfriend, then we can just chillax and do whatever in the game, and it'll probably be fun, so... I'm considering buying that for the PC probably once I get back from my trip. So
yeah, I don't know what my next. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is coming out soon. Though I fucking dread, because I know that they fucking ruined it. Because Kojima's a fucking Westaboo. He can't just leave things as they are. He can't just let sleeping dogs lie. He needs big American fucking voices. He needs that fucking middle-aged, menopausal fucking Kiefer Sutherland from some fucking boring-ass NBC crime drama that no one gives a shit about from 10 years ago. He's gotta have fucking Kiefer Sutherland. He's gotta kick his fucking guy to the curb. That fucking stuff, that kind of stuff grinds my fucking gears. It really does drive me fucking crazy that they kick a guy to a curb who's so fucking iconic. And of course I don't know yet for sure that it's not a ruse or like setting up for some... you know, plot twist, and hopefully it is, but there's a part of me, there's a sinking feeling in my gut that tells me that no, Kojima really is that much of a fucking Westaboo, and he's that fucking obsessed with Hollywood that he'd do something with this. And I love the man. I love him. He's responsible for most of my childhood, but fuck him. I hate him. Yeah. You know, it's the same as the Lauren Faust thing, you know? I fucking can't stand seeing people who are responsible for something not getting the proper respect by the people in power and getting kicked to the curb. That's why I can't fucking forgive that Equestria Girls movie. I think that's like the first mention of My Little Pony so far on this particular podcast. We're doing good. We're finally breaking away from it slowly.
I think, like, I really believe that, like, Lauren Faust probably left because of, like, Princess Alicorn Twilight and Equestria Girls. Because when you think about it in terms of, like, the production schedule, she was still around while Season 2 was, like, on the air, like, when it first started. And she left around then. And that would have been when they were planning Season 3. Yeah. You know, so, like, there's no like I feel like even at that time when she left, she probably would have already known that they were going to do that with Twilight Sparkle. I know that she said she didn't know anything about Equestria Girls. She was like, I have no idea what that is, you know, like I'm not a part of the team anymore. But when the Twilight Sparkle thing happened, what she said is just whatever plans I had for the character are now dead. Like, you know, like my vision of the character is gone. You should not, you know, think of it that way. And, you know, they say that she left because of creative differences. So I think it was just Hasbro said, we want her to be a princess, and she said, fuck that, I'm leaving. You know, this production is too stressful. It didn't have the huge fan base yet that it was eventually going to have, so she couldn't have known that it was like, you know, becoming this massive phenomenon and everything.
It almost makes me feel guilty for still enjoying the show. Because if it were my thing and if it were my baby that I created, I would never let that go. I'd hold that hatred in my heart for the rest of my days, and I'm sure she does. Did you see Tara Strong's AMA from just yesterday?
No, I did not.
Somebody asked Tara Strong on Reddit, I think it was yesterday, they were like, do you still talk to Lauren? And she's like, yeah, we talk all the time. We don't talk about My Little Pony, though, because it makes her sad.
Right.
I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, it sucks that she lost it, but at the same time, you know, for me, I'm callous and cold-hearted. I'm just like, whatever, if it's good, it's good. I don't care, you know, like, fuck you, the show got better when you're gone, bitch. But it didn't really, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still good, and, like, the people in charge now have definitely done a good job. I mean, obviously, you get the yearly reminder now that Hasbro owns it, and they have to do whatever they can with whatever stupid corporate mandate they shove down their throats, you know.
Right.
But for the most part, the writers and the people making the show still do a pretty good job of quantifying it into something that's not completely terrible.
Yeah. Well,
But
I think we
still.
should wrap up this podcast because we're talking about ponies now, and this is supposed to be a video game podcast.
Yeah, God forbid. Fucking save this sinking ship. Get me off it. I'm not talking about that shit. Fuck it.
Oh, man. All right, well, that's us. I'm not even going to bother editing the audio in this thing. I'm just going to leave it as is and put it over footage of us, or of me playing Baroque. So enjoy that, and have a nice day.
Yeah. Okay, cool.